Death Club.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about Terror Man versus Revival Man. So Terror Man versus Revival Man is a crossover series between, of course, the two characters that we have, Se-Kwon and Min Jung-woo, as they are here to fight each other. And so far there's only the prologue and chapter 1 translated right now. After doing more research, it's probably for the best. This is written and drawn by the team that did Terror Man, except the only difference here is it's all in color. It's not just color backgrounds with black and white characters, so that was nice to see. As far as I could tell, this came out late 2020, so not that long ago, which would explain why there's not a whole lot of translations, and also what we're going to get into in a little bit here. Moving forward, there will be spoilers for Terror Man and Revival Man, so if you haven't checked those series out, I highly recommend both. As my understanding, Terror Man is over, at least season 2 is, and that's over in Korea. And again, for a lot of these Super String Universe series, we're getting fan translations, and we are almost there. We're about 30 chapters away from catching up. I just found that out recently, doing all this research, like I said, because I was getting confused in the prologue. It was talking about stuff with Terror Man, and I just kept thinking in the back of my head, yeah, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is all this, like, are they spoiling stuff that's going to happen in Terror Man, or what's going on? But it's already over. That stuff happened, so I'm just going to have to wait and get there and see exactly what's going on. As well as the fact that this crossover is set after Revival Man, so that's 10 plus years into the future of Terror Man. So a lot went on in between. I mentioned in the Revival Man reviews that Min Jung-woo shows up in those chapters. I was thinking, oh wow, this is crazy. And that he specifically stated the main antagonist of Revival Man, Kim Min-hyuk, was his best friend. And he is a little salty. Se-Kwon killed him, but as he said, he had it coming to him. But he's still a threat because that power is way too dangerous to be walking around like that. It did not click until today, going into this episode. Kim Min-hyuk was in Terror Man. Like, I was getting confused, like, well, I mean, it is a time skip, so maybe this makes, we could get away with that. But then as soon as I read a little thread talking about both of these series, it just clicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I put the pieces together? Part of it is, like I've mentioned in the Webtoon episodes, I'm just not that good with Korean names. And it's kind of hard to remember them. So when I read Kim Min-hyuk, I didn't really think nothing of it. And then even with the reveal, I still didn't think anything of it. But back in Terror Man, when everything started, before shit really hit the fan, Min Jung-woo did have a best friend in high school who had a heart condition, just like the main antagonist in Revival Man. Turns out this is the guy. Another reason is I didn't think Kim Min-hyuk was gonna be relevant again. He leaves in Terror Man to go start over in life with his mom after all the crazy stuff that happened with them. And I was like, okay, so that's the end of that chapter, because our boy Min Jung-woo has a lot bigger things to handle right now, and he's not gonna go back to a normal life. There's just really no way. And to see that this is where his best friend became, joined the Doan group and became just an evil asshole, really took me by surprise. I was already excited to see Revival Man is actually connected to Terror Man, because out of all of the Super String stuff, none of it connects. I mean, you can maybe say Cave Girl, or Neolith Girl as it's also called, is connected to Terror Man, because that main character might have shown up. But again, with the Korean names, and I'd have to track down the chapters. And besides the point, let's go actually and dig more into what's going on with Revival Man. So, as I mentioned in the reviews, Revival Man is over, but it's still ongoing because Season 0 is a thing. But the story ends with Se-Kwon walking away from all of this crazy stuff and is ready to live a normal life with Chae-Rin as they move forward together. And, he dyes his hair back to black and is like, I'm just a normal guy now. Reading the prologue for chapter 0, right off the bat, just put me off. I read the chapters before I dug in and seen what's going on with these series, and immediately I thought like, oh, this is like a what if scenario, so none of this is gonna really matter in the long run kind of thing. Because it starts off exactly how it starts off with chapter 1 of Revival Man. He's basically a NEET, he's in his 30s, and he's just playing PC games, trying to buy skins, and smoking a lot of cigarettes, and now his hair's dyed red again, which for a Versus series, it makes sense because you have to have something iconic, right? Min Jung-woo has the white hair with that crazy new mask he has. Seo Kwon only has the red hair and the blue tracksuit, but, you know, we're past that, so he's just wearing a normal business suit. And already I was disappointed. I was like, oh, why are we going this route with our boy here? We're getting a reintroduction of his character in this prologue chapter, mainly because people probably haven't read Revival Man if they're reading Terror Man. We get the interactions with him and Che, and it's just stuff from the beginning again. But there's also implications that this is post-Revival Man, so I was all over the place thinking, what's going on? I think it's a bad idea to have Seo Kwon back into this type of character. Like, we move past it, you know? Like, I understand we have to bring him back into the fold somehow, but to reset his character's situation to where it is was bumming me out. And the fact that him and Che don't live together too was weird. Seo Kwon gets an invitation to an interview of this place that's like way too good to be true. So he goes there. It turns out it was all a setup so that way Min Jung-woo can find Seo Kwon, because not only is he dangerous because of his ability to come back from the dead and superhuman strength and who knows what else his ability has, but also the revenge aspect as well for killing his best friend from high school. And in the prologue, right, it was a preview of shit hitting the fan where there's just explosions everywhere. And for some reason, Min Jung-woo assumingly kills Seok's friend Jung Young-ha. After finding out that season 2's over for Terror Man, which might be the end, there's a lot of stuff I don't know yet that happened with Min Jung-woo and what he's willing to do. So maybe there's some of that in there, but, you know, it triggers Seo Kwon enough to where they're about to fight. That's all the information I have for this crossover. I was hoping the name was just eye candy so the audience could check out what's going on. I know early on when it came out, it was very popular on the Naver app on Webtoons. Aside from that, I just don't have a lot of information. But yeah, I was hoping that was just the tagline for the series to get you invested. You know, you could dive in and actually see the real plot where maybe these guys team up. So as of yesterday, it looks like we're at 14 chapters for this crossover. And I'm just diving in real quick, seeing what we got going on. And it looks like what I just said, there is a bigger hand at play here with the story. It's more than just Min Jung-woo and Seo Kwon fighting each other. But there's a common enemy that they're going to have to face with at one point, hopefully. I was really hoping that this series was going to be the jumpstart to this big Superstring universe crossover thing that YLab has been wanting to do for a while. Seeing from all of this, it feels like it's a continuation of Terror Man. I'm not entirely sure because, again, not caught up with season 2 of Terror Man. Yeah, so going through this, it looks like, yeah, they're teaming up, and the prologue is either just something to catch the audience or it's just going to be something that comes down later down the line. But yeah, things are getting pretty crazy from what it looks like. Seo Kwon looks pretty fresh with the different art style. It definitely gives him a different feeling. At the end of the day here, I am curious as to how this series is going to unfold. So for right now, that's all I really got to say, guys, about Terror Man versus Revival Man, or just the two series being in one continuity in general. This episode became a lot longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be a quick special episode. Oh, one note I can bring up before we get out of here is a thing I mentioned when I talked about season 0 of Revival Man, of how it feels like I'm glad that we're getting the answers to our main character's power set here about being able to revive and the super strength stuff, but I felt like it's kind of also going nowhere because the series is over. Like, where can we go from here? And it seems like it might be in here in this crossover where it comes to fruition, because thinking back on it, that flashback stuff is in present day Terror Man, And in Terra Man, they're exploring that stuff. Last time I read about Min Jung-woo's powers and what's going on with all of that, and the fact that there's more other people with different abilities, and maybe Seok-wan is one of those people. So, alrighty, gamers, that's all we have today for this episode. Thanks for sticking around for this roller coaster of an episode. And so while we wait for the final chapters of Season 2 of Terra Man to be translated so we could get a better understanding of what happened in this universe and with Min Jung-woo and the motivations pressing forward, and hopefully more chapters of this crossover getting translated, you can send us an email, unversepodcast@gmail.com. What do you think of these two series specifically? I like them very much. Would love to hear more feedback from that. And then while we wait for that and further episodes, you can follow us on social media anywhere you go at Unverse Podcast. So thanks, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.